really embarrassed to admit this, and it's actually the very first time I have spoken about this publicly. So for some of you who have been following me for a little while, you know that I was a flight attendant for more than 20 years. I truly loved my job because I believed for me it was the best job in the world, getting paid to travel, until it became a job that I literally dreaded going to work. Back in 2009, I operated a flight between Canberra and Sydney. The weather had turned for the worse. It was one of those really bad winter cold fronts. If you don't know me, my name is Tash. I am 50 years old and I do live in Melbourne, Australia. I was operating the Embraer 170 aircraft. Here's a picture of it for those of you who don't know. It was meant to be a 25-minute flight. Before we boarded all the passengers, the captain had a word to the crew, which was us, and said, "The weather is really, really bad. You guys are not going to be getting out of your seats." I thought, oh yeah, but this flight was different. As we held down the runway, departing Canberra, you could actually feel the airplane jolting from side to side. And it got worse once we got airborne. We had a full cabin. There were 78 passengers on board. The passengers were literally white-knuckled. The girl that I was down the back with, she was so frightened because we were literally being thrown around. I was strapped in my jump seat and I was being smashed up against my door. The lightning, the thunder, the hail. I could hear the engines spooling up, spooling down. We didn't hear from the flight crew for the entire flight. The cabin manager, who was sitting up the front on his own, kept calling down the back because he was scared. The girl that I was down the back with, she was vomiting, crying. I was trying to do my best to calm her down. The turbulence was so horrific. I'd never experienced anything like it. And little did I know that I was going to develop PTSD, not from that particular flight, but because I had another flight that was very similar years and years later. But when we landed in Sydney, when the flight crew came out of the flight deck after all the passengers got off, they both looked like they had seen a ghost. They were pale as. And the worst part was that we had to turn the aeroplane around and go back to Canberra. Luckily for us, the weather started to clear. So fast forward a few years later, in this situation, I was then a cabin manager up the front on my own. I had a plane load of schoolies. It was a Friday night. It was November. We were bound for the Gold Coast. Same airplane type, same captain, but this time, really bad thunderstorms on the Gold Coast. Before we started our descent, I went into the flight deck to collect the meal trays from the pilots and I saw their radar. It was red. I saw the flashes of lightning up ahead and I looked at the captain and I said, "We're not going through that, are we?" And he looked up at me and he said, "Do you trust me?" And I said, "Yeah, I trust you. I don't trust this piece of tin that we're on." He told us to clear the cabin. He was going to make an announcement for us to be strapped in, seated, even before we started our descent to the Gold Coast. On our descent, it got very turbulent, but nowhere near as bad as the turbulence we had that time from Canberra to Sydney. But I felt really nervous. My palms were sweating. My business class passengers were looking at me. So of course I'm sitting there in my jump seat with a smile on my face. And there was a passenger in the first row that said, "If your time's up, your time's up." From that moment on, I developed severe PTSD from flying in bad weather. Fast forward to 2020 when the pandemic hit and we were all stood down. For me, secretly, I was kind of relieved. When the opportunity came for redundancies, I put my hand up. Now, I'm telling you this story not to scare you because we know that flying is really, really safe, but because I've been asked why aren't I still flying? But I just knew that my time was up. So now I bought a digital marketing program to help me and other people make money online to escape a job that they hate. The program showed me how to create my own digital product, who to market to, and exactly how to sell it. The ending wasn't that bad at all. And I know that this video is long. If you have watched till this far, thank you.